Enough, 6 o'clock.
Believe so. Grab more.
All right, I call to order the special meeting of the Greenmont Water and Sanitation District, December 5th, 2023, and call the roll. Karen Morgan, present.
Dave Wickman present.
Roger Wendell present. Todd Hicks present.
Dave Garner present.
All accounted for, and we have a quorum. Thank you very much. Are there any disclosure matters tonight? Any additions or changes to the agenda? No. That just brings us to public comment then. We do have people in the room. Ms. Joan Postal.
I'm gonna sit because it's been a long day. So my name is Joan Poston. I reside at 10642 West Vassar Place, and that is unincorporated Jefferson County. I am here because this morning at 5:45 a.m. I received this email that I shared with you, a copy of it. And it says, "Hi, Joan, I checked on your FOIA yesterday, as I had no idea that it wasn't sent out previously. Kimberly informed me this morning that this second interim release will be sent to you via UPS next day, air with tracking number. UPS will pick the package up today, and it's right now today, after 4 p.m. that's Eastern Standard Time. So it should arrive there no later than Thursday." I thought this might be relevant to the board because this is related to the FOIA that I filed in 2022. So it's been over a year that I've been working and pursuing to get information from the National Archives on this land. And it is the land that is over here at 4th and Union, the 57 acres that were sold. And I have been trying to get the GFA to give the background on this land. Because it is my personal opinion that the land is contaminated, and I'm not sure what kinds of things that have been done to remediate the situation. I did receive last spring a first interim, and they are putting these out in bites. And the reason why they say they're doing it in bites, and by the way, they violated all of the FOIA dates that they're supposed to have them done. They just blown by them all, and they could care less. And the only thing recourse that I have is to sue, which I have not done yet, but I have consulted with a FOIA lawyer. And so the previous email I got said, "Hi, Joan, I'm sorry, but it's been very busy here with our switchover from FOIA Online to FOIA Express. So one of the things that they're saying has happened in DC is they have changed platforms. And so it's been very difficult. And I was out of the office for a while on leave. This is the man that is with public relations and has been following my stuff. I have been assigned 4 different directors over this thing. And the last director was assigned in July, and she was replacing an acting director, and she was told to me that she was a very good FOIA person, and that she came from the federal government and the DOJ FOIA department. The good news is we're very close to releasing the next sets of documents to you. I'm hoping they will be ready for you to release this week. And that was dated 11/15. So how I've been working with the government, because you have to be careful and not harass them, or they will charge you with harassment charges and stuff. I wait 3 weeks in between my emails and my contact of the people. So I waited until last Friday, and I called and I left a message and I said, and oh, by the way, I've actually written an article and submitted it to the Denver Post. And I got a pretty rapid response for the government. I'll be happy to share with you what comes Thursday. I have no idea what it is. I am thinking perhaps it might be why they're sending it UPS and not putting it on through a electronic file and stuff, is because I've been dealing with them mostly with paper and doing registered letters. Doing this because this is how you can make a paper trail, and I've made a pretty good paper trail for the last year. And so I do believe that I'm either going to get a file of paper this thick, or I'm going to get 6 boxes. And I'm thinking perhaps that I will get the 6 boxes, because I think it's about time for them to dry and drown me with as much paperwork that they can. I don't know what I will be getting, but I did think it might be relevant to what you are doing, because I know that this board has voted to have an independent person look at this land. And I appreciate that. I really think that it is in your best interest, both legally and morally, and to a certain extent, your duty as far as, you don't want to do dereliction of duty. It's not something that anybody ever wants to, even though nobody can tell me what that is. You can't tell me what that is, but that's okay. So I just wanted you to be aware that I am getting some more information. I will send it to you. And the last thing I'd like to say is this. The National Archives is in a bit of trouble right now on the federal level. And I don't know if you've followed some of the things that's happening. The National Archives has been asked to produce several kinds of emails and other kinds of things to Congress. And they kind of told Congress pound sand. So this past week, they've come back and said, we're looking at making this a formal inquiry. And that's gonna make things change as far as the National Archives being able to say pound sand. And that's one of the reasons I think that they have tried to delay me and keep me off. And I feel really good that A, I'm getting some responses, and B, I'm just as important as Congress, because they blow me off too.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Oh, I have one more thing to say. You need to be aware of some of the people that I've been dealing with the National Archives are actually employees that have been there for some time. And I do believe in some cases, at least with one of the directors that I was dealing with, there was some underlying pinning that was removed. That makes sense? That you know, sometimes you have people that try to make you do things by not supporting your decisions and stuff. And I do believe one of the lawyers that I was working with wanted to do some things, and a long-term staff member tried to. And I do know, I do know 2 more things. One,
We've had a time limit here though, Joe.
I know, okay. One, that they did go to Region 8 to do an investigation. And 2, there is a law enforcement element that is investigating as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, Ms. Urban?
Thank you. My name is Anastasia Urban. I'm with Solterra LLC. At your last board meeting, our president, Peter Warner, approached you during a public session, asking for a status and a response on the 87 taps that are pending. Of those 87 taps, 28 are in filings 18 and 20, which are on the south side of Solterra. All infrastructure has been installed pursuant to approved plans from this board. We are constructing 7 homes in process currently from taps that were issued by the district already. So we are requesting again, reiterating a request for response on the 87 taps total remaining in Solterra.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, Online, I see Lamilla.
I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I got a thumbs up from Dylan. Thank you, Dylan. I don't know if you're gonna give me a up for after this one. All right, good evening, board members. I want everybody to take a deep breath, smile, and I hope these smiles don't disappear because there's going to be a lot said and it's not delightful. Let me start with demeanor. This has been festering inside of me for months. I've held back, but now I have to let it out. I listen to the meetings, and what keeps occurring, and it sticks with me, is watching a meeting of the good old boys. More so when the staff engineer was present. There is constantly verbal jabs at some board members. I don't know if the individuals realize what they're saying, but I encourage you to watch a board meeting and you will see and hear unbecoming behavior. I just want you to be aware and be respectful to everyone on the board, whether you agree with them or not. I'm disappointed when I'm watching the meetings on numerous subjects that affect our customers. If only public comment could be made just before adjourning the meetings, or just before you take a vote on things that will affect us, you would hear an earful, just like you are now, and it wouldn't be nice. Why is it when someone campaigns and it's fortunate enough to be elected into that position, they forget the promises made when they were running? They decided to change their mind on some very important issues that probably got them elected in the first place. Is it that they now feel empowered, that they ignore their customers' opinions and they do not, oh, I can't even talk this evening, no longer listen to their customers? Do they forget who voted them in and who they are representing? The board represents their customers, not the developers, not the city of Lakewood, but their customers. Example was out of district service. Here we go again with a company that sued Green Mountain, appearing in front of the board, dictating to you when they want, what they want done, and when they want it done. How soon have we forgotten the recall? There's no obligation on our behalf to even address their demands. They are in a different district and that district can provide their service. Your constituents made it perfectly clear they do not want any more agreements outside the district boundaries, especially to those entities that have sued Green Mountain Water. Now here we go on the ravine. How is the agreement benefiting your customers? I heard some board members were tired of negotiating. They wanted it over. But please, that you guys have only been in office for a few months. Your customers have been watching these negotiations for 4+ years. And Lakewood has been not negotiating. They've been standing in the wings. But we caved to the city of Lakewood. We showed weakness. The blast board showed strength, and that's what I was hoping and expected from this board. Now I was going to talk about the district manager search, but I think that's enough. I can't even tolerate going on. Now you guys can smile. I don't like criticizing the board, but I feel you guys are not listening to us and you're going rogue on us. All right, I'm going to end by saying, David Weichman, I hope somebody on the board invites you to Christmas dinner. All right, board, talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Anybody else online want to raise their hand and have public comment? Going once. We are doing public comment. A board president just signed in. Any other public comment? once, twice, and gone. Thank you all.
Maybe it's.
Close public comment. All right. Thank you, everybody. I think we are on to the next matter, which was an executive session regarding security, IT security policies. So
Can we
with any other, thank you.
define for the benefit of the public what the real subject is, rather than just a sort of cursory subject? Is that possible?
I hear a plea from Director Garner that he would like to make a statement. Please.
No, I just would, if we could have some clarity of what it is we're going to go in to discuss to the fullest extent possible. If not,
You're welcome to.
no, I don't have anything. I don't know what it is. I'm clueless. So I'm
Okay.
asking for an explanation of what we're going to be discussing.
Okay.
Without,
Yeah,
Would you like to give a brief summary?
I could,
thank you.
I will endeavor to be as informative as possible while trying to skirt part of the reason why we're having an executive session in the first place. So we'll be discussing the information technology security policies that we've been developing. They cover the breadth of everything we pretty much do here, and have both from a technical standpoint, some things that need to be first seen and discussed here, and before we submit an actually, it'll become a public document. And the security nature of it benefits of an executive session. We've always tried to maintain security,
So this is
Right.
something new.
This-
I'm happy.
There was your statement. There was not something new. There was, this was, to remind you, an ongoing project was authorized last budget. So we have been working on it for a year, and Jesse did ask a couple months ago to add it to the agenda, and I did not do that. So he reminded us again last month that we should add it to the agenda, and here we are.
Thank you.
that's it.
So would you like, anybody make a motion
I
to
will
go
make
into
a motion,
executive?
we move into executive session to discuss the IT security for the district.
Okay, second. Director Hooks makes a motion, Director Wendell makes a second. All in favor? Aye, is that 4,
Sure,
5?
sure. I'm easy-go-lucky, of course.
Unanimous approval, and
At 6:17 PM, the district has voted to convene in an executive session to satisfy the open meetings law. This executive session will be electronically recorded. The executive session is held for purposes of discussing information technology, security arrangements and policies pursuant to CRS 24-6402 sub 4 sub D. And the participants in the executive session are going to be the board of directors, myself, general counsel for the district, Jesse Davenport, IT staff for the district, and external consultants, Tyler Bell. I would
Hi, Tyler.
request that the recording be stopped, that the public be excluded. The executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were the board of directors, myself, general counsel for the district, Jesse Davenport, IT staff for the district, and Tyler Bell, outside consultant for IT security. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is 6.
Yes, legal matters, any actions resulting from executive session? I don't think there are any. So we can move on to directors matters and. Did I miss something?
Can we address legal matters that were not raised in executive session? Or not?
No, do we have something to add to the agenda?
I just wanted to ask a question on Brookfield in terms of timing.
Oh. Um,
Is that something
I-
you want Brookfield to be
can
hearing?
we talk
Doesn't
about,
matter.
let's,
Careless whether they hear it or not.
let's circle back to that.
Okay.
We have the down selection of the district manager candidates. For the record, we invited 9 people to the written interview. We had 6 responses, 5 of them were answers and interest, so we had 5 candidates. Any thoughts?
I have one general impression. I'm kind of surprised that some of our candidates didn't do any research about the district. One candidate seems to think we have an HR person. And other various kinds of things where I would have thought someone would have done a little research if they wanted the job. I'm just kind of surprised by that. In other instances, I thought a couple of people did really good research.
Well, do we want to give our top 3 after reading the resumes and then top 2, how many would we like to give?
I'd like to
Thoughts?
interview 3. Just to be fair.
Well, let me start off with one question. The guy Gil from Arizona. How is that gonna work? I mean, we've said we don't wanna pay for somebody to move in. Is he willing to move himself? In which case, I guess he's in play.
He would have to, yeah, because if we're not gonna pay, that
Well,
would be,
that's my
that would
assumption.
be his option.
Right, but if he's confused and is thinking that we give him an offer, therefore he's gonna come, and then we're not gonna pay, that's kind of a wasted effort, and so it's like, can we be clear with him as to what we're gonna do?
Did he leave that impression with you, soon?
Well, he applied,
Well, should we see if he's in our top 3 before we,
That's probably a good idea.
and then maybe we could address that?
well, I think he's very well qualified, I don't know if he's my top 3, but he's possibly.
I brought up the same concern last time and
I'm happy to
Didn't have
share
any
my
interest.
3.
Well, do we want to do the thing and just give people's names and see who has them in their top 3 and see if who gets the 3 most votes out of all of us? We wanna do that, 1 vote per person? Or do we wanna rank them by where we give them multiple points if they're your first choice or second choice or third choice?
I don't know that I have any for second and third. I just looked for 3 names. So,
Well, that's,
yeah,
so,
I'd be more comfortable just giving you 3 names.
Director Wendell, thoughts?
3's fine.
If that's I mean, they already cut themselves down in half, so I'd be happy to interview all of them, especially after but if you only want to do 3, that is fine too. I guess if that's the way you want to go,
I'd be in favor of all of them.
yeah.
I just think it might be eliminating if we knew who our top 3 were, maybe we'd all have some agreement.
If,
If, you know, only one of us had a 4th name or a 5th name. Might change my thinking. If one of my people were not on anybody else's list, I'd say, nah, maybe I'm wrong.
what about a different approach this time, since we're only looking at, we have out of 5 people and we're looking at 3, what if we chose the bottom 1 to eliminate?
You know, it's kind of a little bit of a tangent. I brought this up before. Do we have any privacy concerns at this point? We can just say names and locales and everything.
You bet.
well, I think it's public.
You can't make public their application materials. Those are, private, but the conversation that you're having is acceptable.
Now, when you say materials, you're saying like, here's the sheet of paper that they submitted and give that back? Or can I sit there and say, well, this guy has got Well, I can
Yeah,
verbalize.
like if you said John Smith or Jane Doe has done ABC, I don't think you can say that, but you can say, I want Dave Wickman as my first choice.
Well, what I'm saying is that if somebody submitted a Cora request for the application materials of any of the non-finalists, you would turn that down. You can talk about their application materials, you can discuss their qualifications.
Okay,
I mean,
well, like for instance, I did a spreadsheet and I did little bullet points. Well, bullet points are not what they submitted, but it's me distilling down a big O essay down to one word or something like that.
Sure.
And,
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about it.
you know, like, for instance, this guy from Arizona, I'm sitting there going, he's worked with city councils and he's got $20 million, all these things he said. Can I verbalize any of that, or is that considered, confidential stuff?
You can talk about their qualifications. Yep.
So I guess so how long would you think we would give a person in an interview? 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Probably longer than that.
For this level, I agree.
Well, the only reason I'm just asking is, to me, if there's 5 people and you gave each one a half hour, obviously we're at 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours probably.
Right.
If you have 4 people, you're only at 2 hours plus incidentals. I guess what I'm trying to avoid is starting at 6 and ending at midnight. I mean, not that it's not, it's that important, but at the same time, kind of like if some person speaks for 10 minutes when they're supposed to speak for 5, there has to be some delineation point where we're like, enough is enough, to me.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, I guess, sitting here thinking about interviewing 5 people, I don't mind that. Cause you're right, I guess in the grand scheme of thing, what's 2 more? And that lets us see every single person.
When would we do the interview?
I don't know if that's a special meeting, I would assume.
If it's more than 2 directors, it's a special meeting.
So maybe it'd be worth scheduling 2 special meetings almost back to back to conduct 5 interviews.
Are you saying like giving each one an hour? How much time are you, I don't know, cause like the questions, like from reading through them, to me, I guess to kind of piggyback on what Dave said. There were ones that to me, I really liked the way they answered things. There was other ones that were like, my gosh, a younger person in my family could have broke that. And so I don't know how much interest, but maybe in an interview, that person that was not well written, maybe is knowledgeable and well spoken. I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we certainly found that last time. It kind of flipped, remember?
Yes.
So it might be worth doing.
I'm
Figure
just,
some things
so
out.
to me, like in 5, I guess the more I sit here and think, that's.
Well, I keep coming back to Gil. If there is a question mark as to whether he's coming or not, then if he gets knocked out because of that, then we're down to 4. If he's willing to come on his dime, he's in my top 3.
Okay. All right, well, can we start with, sounds like, how many, are we open to doing all 5? How many start there?
Sure.
1, 2, 4?
I'm not, but
Okay,
you guys will make that call. I just think that there are a couple of people who their answers are, to me, disqualifying. One, his attitude was, well, we need to bring the board in. But the underlying tone was, but the district manager needs to make decisions. I don't want that person. We've already been down that road.
I saw one of those as well. I wonder if we have the same.
Right.
So then are we back to?
You want to tell me who it is? Maybe.
Do we wanna go for the vote of the top 3 again? Just see who gets, of our top 3, what 3 candidates come up the most?
Well, can we try top 3? And then if we don't like the way it looks to us, we go do 4 or 5. I'm willing to ask the tough questions of the guy who I think, or the person who I think disqualified himself in my mind on his questions. I'd rather not do that embarrassingly in public for someone Well, I'm happy to do it if that's what.
Yeah, I'm happy with that too. Maybe it was come across wrong.
You probably sense that I have a different take on this. I did a lot of interviewing, not that it makes me an expert, but I'm not so impressed with really nice answers and written answers. I want to find out if this person can work with people,
I agree.
and they can develop some skills. And I just get that from the interviews. You know, these canned answers and things aren't very impressive.
I agree with you, and as I'm looking at one particular resume right here in front of me, or a question response, it's directly out of a textbook. I can almost recall the textbook that it's out of when it comes to establishing,
Yeah.
metrics. And I think that's,
But even during the oral process or the interviewing process, I'm open to a more casual, what do you think? What's your philosophy? How would you deal with this kind of problem? What do you think? Can you learn these skills? I don't expect somebody to come here and be 100% ready to hit the ground running.
I agree with you, and it's 4-1. I mean, so you guys, if you want to do all 5, go for it, do it. I'm just thinking that, gosh, I kind of want a couple of these people not to have to go through that process where one of the questions I would ask would be, this board is divided. There were 3 to 2. I read that on the internet. So it must be true. How do you deal with a split board?
Well, I think that's probably a good question to ask again anyway.
Well,
So
yeah,
see
but,
what they have to do.
given the way one person answered, I just think it would be embarrassing because he has not thought of that.
But I'm really open to either 3 or 5.
Yeah, I'm
open to whatever.
I wouldn't mind seeing what the 3 looks like, and we might say, we like those. We all like those. We might surprise ourselves.
We might. I also like the way that, the thought of being able to see all of them answer an interview and be able just to see what they, and feel them out. So if we can do the 5, that would be my preference.
Cause I do think that people I mean, I think a lot when they're talking, you get the feeling if they can think on their feet, if they're, articulate.
Right.
I mean, as opposed to your canned answer, if they're him-hawing all over the place, or, I like to see if they actually pause to think before they answer. I know it's not, that like they're actually thinking about what they want to say to you as opposed to.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that. So either, it's fine with me. 3 to 5, I'm good.
We did cut the candidates down in half.
I'm
right?
fine with it. I'm just not gonna be very good at the
Yeah.
last interview, number 5, after 2 hours, I'm gonna be tired.
Let's plan on 2 sessions. Arizona or wherever he was from, he may not show up.
Can we make
Well, wouldn't it
that
be
clear?
Zoom? Or are we
It'll be
actually
Zoom.
asking them to come here?
They could be on Zoom, but can we do on this round, like, and make clear again, I thought that, come to been invited back to the last phase, that'll be, an oral interview. Be aware that we are not doing relocation costs and just make sure that they know
Yeah,
or not.
and we need to remember to give them a chance to ask us questions. We didn't do that very well last time.
Okay.
I think.
Ask questions.
Yeah, because they ought to ask questions of the board if they've not done a lot of research. One person's gonna be shocked that we have a staff of, how many, 26?
22.
22,
You were close.
yeah, but seem to think we must be in the, big numbers.
Okay. All right, so ask all 5 back.
Will all 5 have the option to do Zoom?
What do you think?
Well, I
I
think,
think so.
yeah, I don't know if being here would be intimidating to someone versus on Zoom. I don't know if one is,
It's probably beneficial to your ability to schedule it if you make it via Zoom with the holidays coming up too.
right.
It's true.
Well, my first instinct would be, yeah, Zooms, especially with Arizona. But one of my questions I'm asking myself is where are they commuting from? Because, like when we had a guy from Colorado Springs, well, that got to be a barrier. If you're an hour each way every day, they might not be lasting too long. And some of these people, like John's, he's from the northern suburbs. Is like, are you going to be commuting from Loveland or wherever he's from Brighton, whatever. He's up in South Adams. Is he gonna be commuting that distance?
But I mean, we can ask him that on Zoom. If he intends to relocate or if he, you know,
Well, let me throw one more wrench into this. I don't like the idea of a Zoom interview at all. I prefer they be in person, but it's unfair to the person in Arizona. But yeah, I would, find my druthers, I require an in-person interview.
So I'm sorry, are you saying that for the person in Arizona, would you like to bring them in?
Well,
no.
I don't like spending money either. Yeah, I'm conflicted on this, to
I
be
wouldn't want
honest,
to do that.
but I prefer.
And I like that resume a lot.
Yeah. But I suspect when that person is aware that we're not gonna provide relocation, they'll probably withdraw.
With his experience, I don't know why he would want to come here.
Yeah, I have the same thing. It's like, man, the guy's top of my list was like, I don't understand why you wanna come. If I were you, I'd be,
Because he hasn't done the research.
could be.
Unless
knows where
maybe
he's
he's lived
located.
there his whole life and he's tired of it.
That's the purpose of asking the litigation question.
Well,
Do you have any
you know,
experience? 'Cause
What,
why would I ask the question about litigation?
What he's
There's
just
a
saying.
reason behind it.
if somehow the stage of his life is like, I'm done with
Right.
being in Arizona, you know, what I'd like to do is go to Colorado. And I'll just find a job and then go to Colorado,
But
and that makes it
do you know how
worthwhile.
many people I know who've done that?
Yeah.
Friends that I have here? I don't know how many, I bet you I have, well, I can tell you 4 right off the top of my head that came out here to either ski or do something in the mountains. And all of them moved here, like they came out for a week and they moved, like,
They
quit their jobs and moved out here. And there was no, it was just like, we love it, we're coming back. I wanna live out here.
Yeah,
There's no rhyme or reason.
I remember my mom, when she was near the end of her career, she worked for the post office, and she was like, well, my last job, I'm gonna apply for the postmaster at Telluride. I'll spend my last few years on Telluride. She didn't do it, but anyway, that was her logic.
But yeah, you know,
Place to be.
Yeah.
So what step do we take after interviewing the 5? What's the next step? For the 3?
well, we either
Three,
choose
just
one
select.
or unless we want a final.
You'd have to publish.
If what you're gonna need to do at the end of this meeting, whether you decide 3 or 5, those are gonna be your finalists, and you're gonna need to make that public, that list public with their names. And then at the next, after the interviews, either that day during that meeting, or more likely at a subsequent meeting, you're going to need to continue the down selection process, either by selection of 1 or further interviews if you think that's appropriate.
So we should put that on our, you've been invited for the next selection, be aware of no relocation costs, and that this list will be made public, because some of them didn't want their
Really?
names public.
I'll join you all in interviewing all 5 if y'all would agree to put up who are, each of us say who our top 3 are.
I don't know that that's required.
I'm just saying that's condition of my support, not that it means anything, because I like Roger's original commentary on that.
Do we have,
That road.
Oh, I'm sorry, you, not Roger.
No, but
One of you guys are there.
The other one.
we look the same.
That's
Tall, dark, handsome.
very nice, very nice. Half an hour time schedule? Good enough? So my recollection is that the last time, and I had to ask to remind myself that we came prepared with like 5 questions, 4 or 5 questions, 5 to 10, thinking about half an hour, but we just did a round robin, so we didn't coordinate the questions beforehand, but I had a list, and if somebody else asked it, I just went on to my next one, so everybody could ask a question, and then we moved
I
on,
think more than half of my questions were asked by other people.
yeah. So would that work again? Okay,
Sure.
bring a question and we ask for half an hour, we'll just keep notes so that we can kind of ask the same ones.
So we make the Zoom option available to all 5?
I mean, if you like them enough, if it sounds like everybody likes him enough to talk about, I mean, we could talk about bringing him in. I don't know if that would be a
Well, I'm
significant
not pushing
handicap.
for
Oh,
that,
okay.
that, I just want to be fair.
I honestly
Yeah.
wouldn't, I don't think that's necessary. In today's world,
I mean, I end up having Zoom meetings with people all the time, and I don't think it's any. I mean, it's not as personal, but anymore, to me, it's pretty darn common. For me, it is. It's just because people's schedules and traveling, I mean, you can save untold travel time by doing whatever Zoom, or we use team meetings or whatever with Microsoft, so it just saves someone getting in a car and driving for a half hour.
And don't you think if that's open to one person, that you have to make it open to the rest of them? Just,
Yeah.
okay. Seems like so, I mean, we're coming into the holidays. Can we send them like 2 or 3 dates and see which ones that they come up with, and if we can schedule them out for 2? So half an hour would be a 3-hour, half an hour each is a 3-hour meeting. That's kind of typical, but that it'll be long, but that way maybe we can split them up if one's available here. There, what do you think?
What I was thinking, not to push this, but 2 dates in early January, maybe a Tuesday and Wednesday, and give them their choice. Say, which one of these 2 dates could you join us with?
Okay, that's what I was
Oh.
saying as well. Okay, very good.
That's what
January,
you're saying. I
Here's the
didn't know.
question.
I didn't know
Would
much
you-
more than.
Would
Okay.
we, if we did something like that, what if we, okay, let's say we did choose a date, and I'm just talking out loud here. And as opposed to 2 nights in a row, and I don't know if this is too much time, but like if we started the meeting at 5 and say we scheduled 35 or 40 minutes for each one with our hopes that we would be done by 9 or before 10, which I'm still fairly good-minded by then, but once we start getting past then, I'm not, but then it's just a night and we get to me, see them all in one time frame, as opposed to,
That's a good point.
you know, I see you 3 one night, and so I'm thinking about all that, and then these 2 the next night, and I've already maybe predetermined, whereas I think if I see them all at one time, I'm gonna give them an equal shake, for lack of a better term,
okay,
as opposed to having a whole night to ponder and either figure out, because I think a lot of times our initial reaction is often good. And if overnight I think, well, I love Karen in that interview, but then do you remember when she said, or, you know, and I love Dave, and oh boy, that was a smart answer. I like that one. It's like, to me, you process, and then I don't think the other people in the next day get as much, unless we just answer a week or 2 later. I mean, then.
Well, that would be another clarification. Are we talking about doing the interviews all in one night and then the discussion? I don't know if the discussion gets done in 5 minutes or takes 3 hours, but that could make a significant impact on the length of the evening.
Well, yeah.
Are we doing it all in one evening, or?
Well, that would
I
be
don't
hard
think
too,
we can
unless we
know.
started like at lunch.
Yeah.
yeah,
So we'd be like doing interviews in one meeting and the discussion will be in another meeting.
I think so.
Okay.
What do you think?
Or we might all say, I think we all agree.
We might.
If you do that, I think you'll need to structure your meeting that way so that you have 2 agenda items, interviews, discussion, and
Selection.
potentially, yeah, you're not obligating yourselves to make a selection, but you want it to be an option.
Okay. Okay, and then, I mean, we can get through that and say, we can't decide, we need to bring her back in for another round, like you had said. But hopefully we can get it through. Okay, so send out a couple.
Could I ask Dylan, your experience with other small districts, are we kind of on the same page or headed in the right direction, or do they do it completely different?
I think typically what I see most is committee interviews of, that's the first down selection process is 2 directors as a committee plus a staff member or something, interviews 5 people, brings the recommended 2 or 3 to the full board. The full board does the interview of the 2 or 3 and then selects from that. So you changed that out for the written question selection process and are doing a full board interview. And occasionally I have districts that, the committee just brings the recommendations and the board votes based on that and don't do their own interviews at all.
Interesting, thank you.
Well, what the city would do is they have a selection committee in place all the time, five council members, and they do all the interviews. Then take it to council, and council rubber stamps everything, except when the recommendation was to get Wickman. Then they had to vote on that. I'm not just joking, that was true, but anyway, yeah, it was all rubber stamp.
Mhm. And that won't
Okay.
change in the new administration.
Is everybody, what do you,
Yeah, well,
good for January date? I don't think we can do it. There are other options we have a meeting on, looking at, thinking about the calendar. We've got a meeting next week. It'd be the third week of December.
Yeah,
January,
wouldn't do the candidates any good either.
yeah.
the board seems to have survived the last 30 days. I suggest we just keep going as we are.
So we'll throw some dates out in January and see when everybody can do it in
I'm
one.
available January 1st.
Really? Midnight?
Yeah, I don't have anything going on.
Okay.
I am not, so.
Okay.
I will be asleep, so.
All right, so we are sending out an email. I will send that to the GM admins group, the notes that I have, that will go out and somebody can send that out to the 5 candidates and then try and coordinate a meeting for us in January.
And is somebody gonna check with Gil to see if he's for real?
And I will put that in the,
Would you like, someone from the admin group to do the coordination and the scheduling, coordinating back and forth, or you want to set out a specific set dates?
I think it would be probably better if somebody else did that.
Yeah, but I'm more happy to do that, I just know. if you'd set a
Okay.
specific
I'll
date.
send some dates with my notes of what we're supposed to go in that letter and then.
If you all decide on some dates that work and say these ones are tentative, then we can do the rest of the scheduling, just. to save
Probably,
it.
can we just look at the, whatever remaining Tuesdays are in January, since that's kind of our dates?
Then, one of the 4 Tuesdays, I can send out whole.
And does anybody else have I mean, just
What-
standing,
what's
I
the- what's the
busy Wednesdays.
date in January?
Be the 9th.
So the one
There are
before would be
5
January
days.
2nd, so
Yeah.
that's probably not a great date.
So 3rd and 4th, I can't do Wednesdays. Mondays or Thursdays, does anybody have commitments?
Well, I don't mind Thursday, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are pretty open for me.
Only
Okay.
thing is, as far as meetings go, Thursdays, I have my daughter, it would be very difficult for me. I have adjusted that to have Tuesdays available. Sam could run the meeting, but you could just, we don't have the flexibility on schedule then. So
Gotcha.
just to keep that in mind for
Okay.
Thursday. Wednesday,
So I can
Thursday.
send out the
Can you 5
Wednesday.
or 6 backups?
No,
Okay.
just me.
Yeah. So I'm hearing, I think I've got one Wednesday, Tuesday, I'll send them out and then you can go from there and finish off the coordination if you would. All right, good for that. Anybody else have ideas along there that we need to cover? Okay. Yeah, the consideration for the district engineer position. This was a result of last regular meeting where we lost Mr. Yost. I thought there was some interest in bringing him back. As you all got an email, I think that he is not interested in coming back. So that kind of takes this item off. I think that, my opinion, if we want to talk about an engineer position, we can reignite that after district manager position, see where we stand. Does anybody have thoughts?
I am interested in one. I liked having that, like, I know you'd asked about that years ago or whatever, and it wasn't I didn't think it would be something that I would want.
Mm.
Actually, after having the person deal with a lot of the stuff, I like the concept. So I mean, like sometime after the first, or after the new district manager, I would like to explore it.
I think it's worth noting that a number of the five, or probably the more experienced of the five who responded, suggested, yeah, it's a great idea to have an engineer on staff. So that made an impression on me.
Something else?
You said something in the premise of your, any of your comments that I was a little surprised at, but I don't want to go there. Doesn't matter.
Would it help to, in future meetings, so we have gone through, we used to have Terry come to the meetings. And then we had the manager speak for the engineer. And then we had Mr. Yuk speaking kind of both. Would you, we'll have the district, someone for staff reporting what is going on. Do you want to invite the contract engineers in place and see if that is helpful in making that decision? As
Well,
opposed to,
I guess I was more like the fact of dealing with a lot of the issues with the developers and other stuff.
yeah,
To me, I think bringing in our other engineers that we put over projects, I mean, if we're wanting an overview, that makes sense, but then to me, we're just going back to the Terry thing if we start doing that again. And I don't really have an interest in that personally,
okay,
but I don't know if others do.
Yeah, for me, it's a question of loyalty. Not that I think that, Terry was ever disloyal. I'm not suggesting that. It's just a matter of, if we bring in an engineer from a consulting firm to sit in here with us, where's their loyalty? Is it to the views of this board, or is it to all their other customers and their stockholders and everybody else? The first week we met, you convinced me we needed an engineer. I'll never forget that conversation. I'm still there.
we'll think about it for a future, how to handle it. You have a question?
Yeah, I just want to add, so far I've been very comfortable with Josh translating for us.
Mhm.
And if we had somebody of Josh's caliber or greater, I don't see the need for a district engineer. It's my 2 cents.
We'll keep evaluating then and see what goes on. Okay.
Just thinking out loud here, so
Uh-oh.
bear with me. Yeah, that's dangerous, very dangerous.
I'd say
But, if we did not choose Josh for manager, could his job be upgraded to be our in-house district engineer?
I don't think he has engineering credentials.
He's not a PE.
No, but it could be upgraded to be,
He certainly has the skill, but
right,
just not the credentials.
or an assistant district manager or something, a number 2 position is what you're thinking?
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking, when I was agonizing over these guys, it's like, well, on the one hand, Josh doesn't have a lot of the qualification, but he's here. And it's like, is there some way to get more out of him without necessarily making him the manager? I was thinking like assistant manager or district engineer. Was there some in-between stage that would be the best place for him? I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Never mind, move on.
No,
Okay.
I will tell you, I mean, kind of off of that from, in my thinking, if there was a thing, if he did get voted in or whatever, I think it would be good to have in my mind, a fail-safe of him so let's just do a whole hypothetical situation there. So like, say he was the district manager and the board was not happy with him. I would not want to lose him after what all has happened. I would want a fall safety plan in place to either, so he could take a step back or become the assistant. I mean, like Dave is saying, I would like, to me, that is a great hedge to our bets, in my mind. I'm just talking out loud.
And in addition to that, what struck me is we need to have a deputy because we've lost our managers and we've managed to survive very well, which surprises me. But ordinarily, that's why you have a deputy or assistant to step up in these cases. And I think in the long run, it'd be a good idea to have an assistant or deputy or whatever we call
Can I ask, just theoretically, if Josh was awarded this position, are there a number of employees beneath him that could fulfill this role as an assistant or deputy? We have qualified staff that could do what Josh does.
Probably a good question for Josh.
Yeah. We could talk, but it would be tough. And you have to remember that Josh just stepped into Austin's place, so we still have a vacancy down below, so we
See, like,
are,
if there was Austin and Josh, I think you would have that, but not
We do
without
not.
Austin.
right,
We kind of lost that leg of the chair. And so I just don't, to me, anyway. I like the idea of a fallback. I do,
that it's,
if that was to happen. I mean, if someone else is it, that's a whole other thing. If it's him, I like the idea of a fallback. Because I don't wanna lose the experience.
it. Do we have any sense with him that it's all or nothing? If he doesn't get it, is he gonna leave? I mean,
I don't know,
I don't know, I mean.
I wouldn't want to be under that sort of pressure. I don't think that's appropriate, but human nature.
Just the conversation would, if I were Josh, would be a little bit insulting, like, oh, I'm not good enough to be number one, but you think you don't want to lose me as number two? I mean, that's.
No, that's what I'm saying, if he did win, I like the idea of having a place that. To me, anyway, I guess till we go through all these interviews, I think that's hard to say.
Yeah.
I agree.
good way to end it.
Yeah, the conversation that you need to have in January.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good things to think about. All right, moving on to the next one. The ADU changes, sent you around a letter. This thing comes down to, we brought this up before. We made a motion that I'd be looking into it. And it just kind of comes down to, and I did meet with staff, we talked about it a little bit, about hard numbers and how to go about presenting the information. And it kind of comes down to Lakewood is trying to craft a policy. What they have said is they have found out that the tap fees for the water districts are the #1 barriers to building ADUs. So they are trying to get around that by making ADUs bigger. Having the tap fees a lesser percentage of building costs and making an ADU more attractive in other ways. So I ended up with it's an informational letter to say.
Right.
We are not, and it's ironic. I may talk to other districts about it so that it looks more trustworthy. The point is, all of the districts, except for one little spot, Bonview, has high tap fees for the cost of infrastructure. They are not punitive. This is just the cost of doing business.
Well,
So,
and we need to, there is zero doubt, we need to cover our costs. The days of giving breaks are over because that has to end, period.
Yeah.
And
Money isn't there anymore.
no, and so consequently, if the developer cannot afford to build with what we have and what our infrastructure costs, then they shouldn't be building. And if they cannot contribute exactly what it takes, another thing, I'm gonna go back, and I don't know, do we have any in lieu of statements?
No.
Good, because I will tell you, I guess, every time I read the in lieu of, it,
Joke on it.
right, I mean, we are letting people basically pillage.
Yeah.
Our neighborhoods by, instead of actually providing what they're supposed to provide, like if they're supposed to be land for an elementary school and they give us $250,000 for a $5 million school, that's ridiculous. If they give us $300,000 for a $12 million junior high, or if they give us $400,000 for a $19 million high school, we're not thinking clearly. And to me, as far as costs, I mean, they have every right to build anything they want on the land they have. No problem with that. I have no problem with that. But their costs have to be completely covered. There's no subsidization of it.
Well, that brings up another point, but I guess that is my point. I want to make them aware that
Right.
if they make it so that you can put a ADU everywhere and everybody does do that, then we will necessarily have to double the cost, and now we have to have double the pipe capacity. So you're not making it more affordable, you're just probably raising the costs, and it just kind of cascades down. And I don't know if they've thought about that because they're so busy. They use the word liberalizing ADUs.
And the bow wave of that coming through every district
Yeah.
would be impossible to recover from in 2 to 3 years.
Oh, it's,
Probably would be a 5 to 10 year activity. And so the city could want to get permits for every ADU tomorrow, and we couldn't accommodate it for several years.
so, and I guess I'm talking too much here. My question is, do you want to talk about this anymore? Do you want to sign off on a letter from the board and bring this up later after you've had a chance to review it and think about it? Do you want to?
Well, I'm fine with what you, to me, you're basically providing a statement saying, we're not changing this. These are our costs. This is what we intend to adhere to.
It's just, yeah, information.
And so from my standpoint, I'm all good with doing that today.
So you're making a motion?
Do we have to make a motion?
If it's from the board,
Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, it's gonna be
I'll
formal.
make a motion that we take the letter that Karen has drafted for the ADUs and essentially say that it is our position as the water board as to how we view these ADUs, and that we intend for our costs to be covered regardless of how they frame their verbiage or developments. I mean, I'm just worried that getting back to the cost, so.
Director Hooks makes a motion, Director Garner seconds.
Unless
I almost
if
left
you
it
want to
again.
second it, I'll back out if you want to.
Well,
For a political
Discussion.
statement.
I was going to second it because
Okay, I just want
because I think it's good, but I was gonna ask one question.
Yeah.
Is I read all the way through, like with you, I got to the last sentence, and there was a wordsmithing sort of thing, it's like, what was your conclusion in the last sentence? And I think, especially now that you've verbalized where you're coming from, I think you're coming from where I'm coming from. But like I said, I'm a little confused in the last sentence. Maybe your clarification that you've just made now is fine, that's good enough.
You know, if we can agree on the intent, and maybe
Yeah.
you can send me any ways to make it better, because that's,
I'm not gonna get hung up on wordsmithing, but I
okay,
just wanted to make sure I understood.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have discussion?
No, I defer to Dave seconding.
Director Wickman seconds,
As a matter
Um,
of
So
fact.
we're in discussion now.
discussion.
So I had a question for Dylan. In these kinds of issues and emotions, is it ever appropriate to have explanatory notes at the very end? We have all this legal verbiage, then can we say our intent was, we don't want to lose money on ADUs or any of these other things?
Like in the minutes?
Well,
Are
not
you
even,
talking as a summary at the end of her letter, or what are
well, like,
you trying?
maybe even in the minutes, parenthetically. This is what we're hoping for. We don't want to endure any more costs.
Well, I don't think we wanna hope for it, I think we wanna enact it.
Or this, we don't want any extra costs with an ADU or.
Well, I think what we've done in the past is done a whereas and then make a value statement.
But we don't really need to do that because the discussion becomes the essence of support or lack of support for the motion.
Oh,
So, I mean, the judge would read into the record.
You could do a resolution where you just lay it all out there and adopt the resolution. If you're just acting by motion, which is what you're doing now, you could amend the minutes when they come out to include that parenthetical. It doesn't really matter and it wouldn't really accomplish anything to do that, but
and it just comes to mind because I think of some of these old agreements with the city of Lakewood. We look back 1987, what were they getting at? We don't.
Well, maybe we need a summary statement in the letter and that would all, we could include that in the
And I'm not
minutes.
demanding it, I'm
No,
just thinking.
that would
out
be a
loud.
good idea to say exactly what the motion was, to say to some, and you said it was not clear, summary. So have a, to summarize, to be clear, our district will raise rates commensurate with the amount of ADUs that are built in order to cover,
Not raise rates, you mean charge appropriately.
charge appropriately.
Yeah, and let me clarify.
Wordsmithing.
And I don't want to go there, but pardon me. Right now, I think our position is we're not cutting them any breaks.
Yeah.
So if they come in, they get the same tap as everybody else. But if we put in languages like, well, but it's gonna be related to cost, are they gonna come back, which is what I'm seeing the city doing right now, is saying, oh, if it's cost, and I think I need to figure out what your cost is, and ergo, make you give a tap fee, which I think is appropriate to the cost.
That's,
I think it's opening up a can of worms, where right now, it's like, they don't get treated any differently.
No, I'm sorry, say that again, because I think what I'm hearing you say is you think that the city will try and dictate our costs.
They'll look for a way to justify making us lower our rates.
Yes, they have done that.
Exactly.
They can't find one. That has been come up. It was a legal challenge in the past and they did that with other districts. That how this conversation got started.
Okay,
So
I was just thinking, if they got on this construction thing or cost thing, that might be the hook for them to get in at us. But if we already know they can't do it.
they cannot do that. They said they had discussions with the districts. The city had reached out to try and say, you have to lower your fees, and all the districts came back and said, no way.
Sure.
So this is how they're trying to get around it by doing something like, so now they have, for example, an ADU used to be 700 square feet. The proposed changes will be 1,400 square feet. So that if the tap fee of 10,000, the one commissioner said his tap fee was 30,000, it will be a smaller percentage of the overall building cost. So that's what they're trying to do.
Well, you know, the other thing is, if we're starting about his place is bigger than his place.
Yes,
You know, every house is different. And like, so we're gonna have to say, this house should have a smaller tap fee than this. We just ain't going there. Tap fee is what it is.
yeah, that's what we are doing. So yes, I think
Okay.
that the city cannot do anything else.
Yes.
Yes, it is you.
And see, that's one of my question when I was reading your thing. I wasn't sure if I picked up on the uniform.
The
Our
total on the
district-
street is the same for the 700 square foot house as it is for the 14.
Yes.
I did have a conversation with a city council member yesterday who
Shall we remain nameless?
shall remain nameless, but that person was very supportive of the concept, but reminded me to remind the board that if you address something to the council, it probably won't get there. They'll get shortstopped by staff. So the recommendation is to send it individually to each council member and the mayor separately and to the staff separately.
Okay.
So I'll get the same thing, but it guarantees it gets in front of a council member.
That's
Okay.
I had no idea they'd gotten so truncated and power hungry at the city staff
Yeah,
level.
there should be I think that there is a city council email, and he's saying if you address it to a city council email, it doesn't get to city council.
That's what I was told.
That's discouraging.
Well, I think we're saying is if you send it to the city and say, city, pass this on to the council, well, then staff will do
Yeah, staff
whatever.
will not.
But there's like, you know, like we have an email to the board
Yes.
members, they have one to
To
the
the
council members.
Yeah, and that should be, and then
And
the
such,
city manager.
that'll work.
Our district will charge appropriately to cover capacity costs per single family residence, which includes ADUs equally,
Do we wanna say single family or
It's
all
just-
residences?
all residences.
Well.
Well, it's not all.
How do I,
It's a tap fee is by, single family equivalent. So
Single
a
family equivalent.
multifamily would be different.
Different.
It'd be-
Well,
Well,
the only reason
our
being is because
ADU
under their
is
zoning,
Yeah.
anything goes. Under
So-
the new Lakewood zoning, anything goes on any lot. It's no longer single family. It's anything goes.
Well, your taps are still, you know, if somebody puts up a 4 unit, they get 4 taps. Or if
Right.
they put up, I don't know your rules offhand, but if they put up 20, then they're getting a 1 inch tap instead of a 3/4 inch tap, and that's a different.
Yeah,
rate.
it's in the policy, so.
So,
But we really only have two tiers. We have the
For residential
multifamily
unit.
and single family, right?
So, commercial.
Oh, there's also-
Housing.
yeah,
Okay, and commercial,
Yeah.
three tiers.
yeah, I think that's right.
The council member I spoke to yesterday was completely unaware of the car wash potential at Union and Alameda. It's like, what?
It's different for water and sanitary, those are different.
Did you want to discuss subsidies? No, nothing? Okay,
I'll just mention it real quickly. I had one of those moments when if I've been stoned, it made a lot more sense to me. I don't do that. What the fleeting thought I had was, what if some members of the council decided to try to fund portions of the tap fee from taxpayer money? This council wouldn't surprise me if it did that,
Yeah.
but philosophically, I'm opposed to that sort of.
Are they allowed to do that with
Well,
taxpayers?
there's a separate question of whether or not it's constitutional. I think it's not, but there are probably people with different. National Tax Union has a different view. But the point is that if the city were to head in that direction, I would like our district residents of Lakewood to receive the largesse of that money before anybody else did. It's because we're out here leading the effort. That's just I'm opposed to it philosophically, but if the city's gonna should at some point decide to give out money to support tap fees, I'd like us to be in line to take the first money.
I think that
I'm
was,
just greedy for our people.
I'm just hesitant to even put the thought in their mind.
Well, I think it's there.
I had the same thought. I didn't even want to bring it up until I did hear that, and I will say that our lobbyists did make us aware that that conversation had been happening at the state level because of the residential zoning changes that they want to make at the state. So it came up, they've already heard about it, it got shut down pretty fast. That doesn't mean it'll stay shut down.
And
So-
there I thought I had an original thought.
Thank you for talking about all that tonight. I didn't mean to bring up all of those details, but I appreciate getting it out of the way. I don't know how fast city council will take it up. It is in their hands now. From the planning commission.
Not this month. Until
Yeah, good.
Well, I'm like, I don't care. We don't have to respond at all.
We don't have
They
to-
can sit there and say it's a good idea. I was like, okay, you do it. We're just ignoring it.
That's true.
We don't have to respond.
Oh, did we vote on the letter? Huh?
Oh.
No. Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous approval. Thank you.
I knew there was something that was.
Yeah. All right, before we adjourn, I was going to bring up, I forgot to put the new business item on the agenda, but make you aware that I did, presuming that it is still an appropriate time in our legal proceedings to have the motions on the agenda for next meeting on the 12th, next week, for Brookfield's request for service for taps.
You're adding that to the agenda for the regular meeting for discussion.
Yes.
We have to. I mean, my inclination is just ignore them, but I mean, if they request something, we have to respond.
No.
No, but it would be an appropriate time to discuss it. So I'm going to, I would add to it, anybody who wants to bring up a motion, we can discuss it, we can make motions, their request.
But since you raised Brookfield, I do have a question.
Sure.
What was the period of time which they had to file?
December. Yes, May,
And they did file.
they did, which they filed their notice of appeal, which triggers the appellate timeline. They haven't filed their opening brief, which triggers the review by the Court of Appeals.
I'm just, I'm shocked. I don't know how to react to an entity that would come and say, please do this for us. oh, by the way, we're suing you. I'm just,
Well, I'm still like, you sued us once, now you come back and want us to give it to you? Oh, of course, but
I think that's the purpose of the discussion.
yeah.
Let's talk now.
You know, everybody has a right to come and speak to us.
yeah, they can always ask.
Irrespective of what some people may think about that, and it's motivation, not true. They have a right to come and speak. Sure. They get their, you know, we didn't accommodate them during the meeting, we did it at the public comment period. They had to take a message from that.
The discussion, I did get an email. Can't remember if who was on that email, that was another request from Brookfield to consider not only the taps, but inclusion for those remaining service districts.
That was from me. That was
Forward,
Brookfield's attorney asked me to convey that to the board.
so we
And I
can
sent that
discuss.
to the board.
Okay,
So kind of related, do we have any timing now for their new lawsuit, the appeal?
Yeah, there are deadlines. I don't know offhand, but
Well, obviously, I'm gonna say we shouldn't do anything until the appeals are exhausted. But do we have any idea when that will be?
if the appeal proceeds, it'll be, you know, if it is fully briefed, you're looking at 10 to 18 months before that's resolved.
Works for me.
think about if you have discussion items and we can talk about it a little bit more next time. That was the request, so we can answer or not the request,
Okay.
be on the agenda. Anything else? Finally, let you adjourn, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It's too early.
Director
Yeah.
Cooks makes a motion, second.
It's not even 8 o'clock.
I second, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you all.